So, ladies and gentlemen, FV4005, we thought we'd put that out because, as many of you here will know, we basically crowd-funded the restoration of that vehicle, and the team that restored it are actually here today with the vehicle. So, a bit later on you'll be able to go and have a chat with them again if you haven't seen them already. And again, some of you here may be those who kindly put money towards that restoration. We put the names of those who helped us is on the rear door of that vehicle now. Our next project, we're doing the M47, which is a vehicle that we had in the shed years ago, taken apart, never quite put back together again. That vehicle, again, we're crowdfunding at the moment to get that one restored. So again, we've got this stream of restored vehicles we can bring back to the museum and show off at events like this. The only unique vehicle, this one here, left in the world, obviously. And we always point out the fact the biggest direct fire gun ever mounted on a tank. So we think Tiger's big, but when you get to 183 millimeters, obviously an even bigger bit of kit there. Now I'll mention what we said a little bit earlier, which is in a moment we're going to be bringing on the Tiger. I'm going to hand over to a colleague who's going to take you through. We've got History in the Making with us here today. They're going to be helping us put on a little bit of a mock battle in our arena, how the Tiger was captured. And then we've got some lovely historic armour to complement the Tiger, to have a look at some of those other vehicles that were being around at the same time in the Second World War. We'll bring out FV4005 again for another lap. But that gives us the excuse to start talking about the Tiger now. At the moment, that's starting up around the back of the museum in the shed. Tiger, as all of you here, no doubt you've read the book, seen everything, but it's worth just reminding ourselves, the Tiger is not the tank that the German army wants, it's the tank that Hitler wants. Hitler puts out the order after seeing, in 1940, German anti-tank guns bouncing off that thick armour of the Matilda II, we're going to see that in a while. The thick armour of Matilda I's bouncing off the French Char-B. He reads those reports and says to the German military, you're going to need a bigger tank. And he starts the Tiger programme going in May of 1941, nothing to do with the invasion of Russia, nothing to do with the T-34, it's to do with those tanks that they met in 1940. And a competition is held between Henschel and Porsche, the two main hull manufacturers. A turret is ordered from Krupp, the main gunnery or weapons armaments manufacturer that way. They're given a year, they have to show their designs off in April of 1942, and that leads to the Henschel design winning. Basically, Porsche thinks he's going to get the contract. He's using petrol-electric drive for his vehicle. He's fascinated about transmissions, not that bothered about tanks really. But the trouble is copper. It's a rare commodity in Germany. The Germans are worried about, therefore, petrol-electric engines, which need a lot of copper. And quite simply as well, it doesn't work yet. They had engine fires before the demonstration. Porsche's design is using, as we now say, it's not mature enough technology. Henschel's design therefore goes forward, and Henschel's design is based on some ideas they were doing in the late 1930s as a potential breakthrough tank. Let's reuse those Italy road wheels. Let's have that boxy standard German tank shape, but just make it that much bigger. Hitler wants them to have the L71 88mm gun. That's a gun that ultimately goes on the King Tiger. But they can't do that, so they go for the famous KWK-36, a flat gun, the one we're so familiar with. That's what's put on the Tiger. And again, if you look at all the orders, we have some in the archive here, they're saying things like, this is a Führer order. The Tiger program literally comes from above, from the Führer. He's the one who's interested in it. Any cock-ups, he's going to be on your neck. So that is stamped on all these orders. This is a Führer order. It's Hitler who's insisting this must go ahead to the plans that he wants. And of course, if you're in Nazi Germany at this time, you really don't want to stand up to the Führer. So everyone goes along with this and make sure that that vehicle finally goes into production in September of 1942. Our tank is made in February of 1943. It is rushed out with the 504 Schwerpanzerabteilung, the heavy tank battalions that have been formed to take the Tigers. And we're going to see in our little mock battle in a moment how Tiger 131 was actually captured in Tunisia. The first captured Tiger intact in the West. We saw the guys from the Garrison Artillery. Our 6-pounders have already knocked out a Tiger, but it ends up in between the two front lines, and both sides claim it. The Germans claim they went out and actually ended up putting a demolition charge on this Tiger, blew it up. The Russians have already captured one on the Eastern Front in Leningrad, right at the end of 1942. And the Russians supply the Western Allies with dimensions, with ideas, with sizes about things they've captured, later at Kursk, the Panther, of course. But at this moment in time, why Tiger 131 is so important to the Western Allies, for the first time we've got one complete. The King sees it, Churchill sees it out in Tunis. It's brought back eventually to the UK for full analysis. They climb all over it, they measure it, we've republished the reports, they write on it. That's why this particular tank is so important to the Western Allies, because our troops are going to have to meet it. What's the best way of dealing with this? What weapons can penetrate it? That 6-pounder, great from the sides, worries from the front. Let's get new natures of ammunition, as they're called. Discarding sabot, let's use tungsten cored rounds. Put that in a 6-pounder. Put it in our 17-pounder. That has better penetration than the 88mm that's actually on that Tiger 1. So these are things we had to plan for, get into production, so we are not going to get held up when we re-invade Europe and Normandy onwards. So we'll look at some of that story when the other bits of kit come out in a short amount of time, once we've done our mock battle, etc. We're just making sure everything's being assembled at the moment. Again, I mentioned earlier on today,